Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Alcohol Addiction Podcast. My name is Lee Davey. I'm not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who doesn't drink alcohol, and I spend every waking moment of my life helping other people do the same. Like right now, talking about the Netty pot. But before we get onto the Netty pot, the shirt, see that button there? You can't see this if you're not watching the video, but if you are, see that button there? I sewed that button. I did. And when my wife said to me, "Can you sew?" And I said, "Well, of course I can sew." She said, "Where did you learn to sew?" And I said, "Well, I think in school." You should have seen her. Honestly, I went up another few points on the sexy scale. Definitely. So men out there, learn to sew. Women love it. Well, my wife does anyway. Anyway, outside of sewing, what's been going on? I am currently in Cardiff. Tomorrow is the last day that I'm going to be in this house that I'm in at the moment. And then we're going to be having a little experiment. We're going to actually be moving in with another guy and another woman, sharing a room there, Airbnb style, for a couple of weeks. I'm absolutely cacking it. I don't know why. I'm just fearing the worst all the time. And it's something that I've been trying to put right recently a lot, been giving it a lot of thought about not coming from a negative base and to have an attitude of abundance, not an attitude of scarcity. It seems like my motherboard was wired when I was really younger to actually be a little bit negative, a little bit pessimistic, a little bit cynical, a little bit sarcastic. So I'm trying to change that. So let's change it right now. I'm looking forward to the experience of sharing someone's house in Airbnb. I think it will give me a good opportunity to meet a few new people and to learn a new experience. So that's where I'm going to be there. Business-wise, I've been involved for the last week in the Seth Godin Bootstrapper workshop. Now, I've taken his marketing seminar twice. I haven't made the most out of both of those visits. I highly recommend the marketing seminar to anybody who's in business. And the Bootstrapper workshop really spoke to me because, you know, a bootstrapper is essentially somebody who is trying to create a business on their own, right? Which is what we're doing here at the Truth About Alcohol. I know a lot of people don't like that word business, but it is. It's a movement of, you know, that I want to one day become millions of people, but it's still going to be a business. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it full time because I don't want to be a non-profit. I want to be a for-profit because I think that enables me to provide more donations to effective charities. So that's my thinking behind that. So I've been doing a bootstrapping course, and a lot of really important things have been coming up for me this week about how I could better run and organize the Truth About Alcohol and Strive. One of the things that I realized straight off the bat was I've been treating this a little bit like a hobby. I have no idea my profit and loss. I have no idea as a standalone kind of entity how much the Truth About Alcohol and Strive has lost me over the last, 5 to 6 years or whatever. So that's something I'm going to start doing, looking at profits and loss and that kind of thing, and just being more, smart about this, because it's obvious to me now that although helping people to become people who don't drink alcohol is my vocation, it's my meaning and purpose, it's what the universe is whispering in my ear that I'm here to do on this planet, it is a career as well. And I need to start treating it like a career, I want to start thinking to myself, how do I become the leader of this niche within the community at large out there? So that is something that's been going through my mind. The other thing that happened to me today was I posted on the Bootstrapper workshop some ideas that I had about change and strive and the life-changing experience going forward. And somebody that I had tagged in to help me, who I respected his work on the forum, he actually said to me, "I tell you what, Lee, I love drinking," he said. I love drinking craft beers. I think craft beers are amazing. I could give up any time I want. I've given up umpteen times, which is something that I hear every single body who drinks say to me, by the way. And then he said, "I have a radical approach. Instead of trying to help people to quit alcohol, why don't you help people enjoy drinking alcohol?" And I read this while I was in Chapter, which is a place where I work, and steam started coming out of my ears. And I I lost it a little bit. It really threw my momentum, really threw my emotional state. I started to get really angry. And I wrote back to him and said, I know you're trying to help me out, mate, but you've just really made me angry. And I was just about to write, like, over my dead body would I ever help anybody drink alcohol. When I thought better of it, walked home. I'm sorry, I still got a bit of a cold. I walked home and I deleted my post. Proof that you should always, you know, take a moment before and reflect before responding to someone who's angered you. Why does it anger me? I mean, the guy's heart's in the right place. He's saying to me, look, Lee, instead of helping a few people around the world stop drinking permanently, because let's face it, nobody wants to stop drinking, do they? Why don't you focus on everybody else, which is all of you listening to me right now who want to moderate? Let's be honest here, right? Nobody wants to quit permanently. If everybody had the choice, they would love to be able to control alcohol, right? So he's saying to me, why don't you help those people? Here's why I can't help those people, okay? And there's a bit of a contradiction here, so I'm going to go through it both. But here's why. First of all, here's why I can't help those people, all right? If you're ever fortunate enough or brave enough or courageous enough to take the truth about alcohol life-changing experience, and I managed to help you become someone who doesn't drink alcohol following my philosophy and my method, central to that philosophy and that methodology is to change your paradigm around the value and the concept of value as it relates to alcohol, all right? So we all drink alcohol because we believe it provides us with a value. The way that I became someone who doesn't drink alcohol without ever craving alcohol was to change my thought process, to change my neural wiring from someone who thought that alcohol provided me with value to someone who thought that alcohol provides me with zero value, all right? And considering that I haven't drunk for the last 9 years and I've never craved a single drop, I would say that works for me. And all I'm doing here is trying to share with you what works for me, because I believe what works for me will work for anyone, because I'm just flesh and blood like everybody else, right? So if I don't believe there is any value in drinking alcohol, and more than that, I believe that it is a core philosophy for my movement. So if you're a striver and you're someone who doesn't want to drink alcohol, that is a core philosophy you must adopt. Then how could I possibly consider that people moderately drink? Because there is no value in drinking alcohol. Therefore, I couldn't tell someone to moderately drink a poison that has no value. There's no reason why I would do that. So that is the reason why, unlike most of my peers, I am not going to be going into the market of helping people moderate. And I know that that will seriously impinge my ability to create a movement of millions of people. However, all right, and here's a caveat. Those of you who listen to the podcast I did with Tobias Lienhardt, the vegan, you will know that we had a conversation where Tobias said, it's not really, and I'm paraphrasing here, so don't start throwing stones at Tobias's front door. But he said something around this, and I'm paraphrasing. It's not really the vegans that are making the difference in the world, because there are so few of us. The people who are making the difference in the world are the reduced-tarians, the people who are deciding, I'm not going to have meat on a Monday. Because there are millions more of those as there are vegans, the collective good they're doing in the world as reduced-tarians is far greater than the collective good that vegans are doing. So with my effective altruism head on, it would make sense to apply more effort and attention creating more reduced-tarians than it would vegans, all right? And I think the same philosophy could be adopted in alcohol. I'm pretty sure when it comes to alcohol intake, if you rounded up all the moderate drinkers in the world, or people who used to have no control over alcohol, who've managed to moderate, and you put their reduced intake against the intake of people who've just quit, I'm sticking my finger up in the area and say probably the moderators do a better job. That's a guess. It's just a guess, right? And it's a guess based on the resistance I feel so strongly from people whose lives are fucked up because of alcohol and they still want to continue drinking it. If any of you watched the Adrian Childs podcast the other day, for example, Drinkers Like Us or something it was called, you could see etched in Adrian Childs' face the absolute war that was going on within his body, that he knew that alcohol was killing him, yet he couldn't stop drinking and he had no idea why, right? The thought of stopping drinking was just terrifying to him. The secret of moderate drinking was fascinating to him, right? So maybe sometime in the future, when we've grown our movement to a size that I believe has the capability that I could take the handbrake off and it will just roll and gather pace, maybe then we could look at doing something around moderation. But right now, my core philosophy is 100% on abstention, all right? And that's what I'm going to do until now on. And that's why I get a bit upset when someone says to me, hey, why don't you help me moderate? Although I have to say, if it comes to someone trying to moderate, or they're just going to go back to whacking it down like they used to, then go and try and moderate, mate, you know? Anyway, so there you are, a little bit on what I'm up to at the moment. Now, I'm going to go on to this podcast episode. It's another solo podcast episode, but my dearest wife, Liza, is trying her best at the moment to get us some guests in the next couple of weeks, because we're now going to be in Cardiff until November, so we can do that. But until then, a few more solo episodes. And this is called the Netty part. Now, you would have heard me cough a few times. That's because after being in the beautiful climate of Korea, Japan, and Bali and Barcelona, I've come back to Cardiff, and within a week, I've picked up a cold. And so has my wife. And unfortunately, so has my 2-year-old daughter, Zia, in the last couple of days, right? Now, here's the thing when I get ill. When I get ill, I don't do anything. I just plod through life, all right? I might have the extra hot glass of lemon every now and then, might even stick some ginger in it. But you're not going to see me taking any medicine. You're not going to see me doing anything other than getting on with life. And in fact, in the middle of my cold, I went for a run in the rain and I meditated for 20 minutes in the pouring rain. That's how I deal with a cold, right? Now, the other night, my wife says to me, Lee, spray this in your mouth. And she gave me some Colloidal Silver. I've got it over there. Spray this in your mouth, Colloidal Silver. Do that 10 times every so many times a day. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And then as I was going to bed, she gives me some eucalyptus oil and she sprays it on a little pad and on my clothing and to help me breathe, right? She tells me to take water with me. Before I go, she gives me some concoction. I don't know what it was, but it was some oil to put underneath my tongue. It burned for a little bit and then I was to swallow it, right? Then she gave me something else that I had to gargle and spit it out. Then she made me a hot lemon and ginger tea. And then she created this great pot of weird and wonderful medications and oils and stuff, like all good stuff. And then she told me to whack my head over it with a towel and to suck it in. And I woke up the next morning feeling 10 times better, right? And I'm getting over my cold a lot quicker than I would if it was just left up to me, all right? Now, when it comes to people who come to Strive and the Truth About Alcohol, listen to the Alcohol Addiction podcast, and they say, hey, Lee, I want you to help me be someone who doesn't drink alcohol. You can actually split them into two camps. One of them is in the same camp with me when it comes to not doing much about getting through a cold. And then you can put the other camp in the Liza's, how she deals with a cold camp, all right? There are those that will say, I've had enough. I don't want to drink alcohol anymore. I've been listening to your podcast, Lee. I understand that alcoholism is an invisible, violent, dominant belief system. I know that alcohol provides me with zero value and I'm never going to drink again. And they'll check in on Strive. You know, they'll check in. They'll say, hey, it's Fred. Went to the bar today. My mates were taking a piss at me for drinking sparkling water. I told them to fuck off. And they'll be on Strive and they'll do those type of things. But other than that, and, you know, the strong arm of willpower, they're not really doing too much difference about anything, okay? In effect, what they're doing is they're being like me when I'm ill. They're just saying, I'm ill, and I'm magically going to wait until I get better. Well, what these people are doing is they're saying, I'm quitting alcohol, but I'm not really going to do much about it. I'm just not going to drink, and I'm magically going to hope that over time, I'm just going to lose my desire. Unfortunately, that over time I'm going to lose my desire. In the time between you taking your last drink and that happening, you're going to be triggered a million times. And if you're not prepared for it, and you don't understand, and you're not how to get over that trigger, your likelihood is you're going to drink, or you'll be white knuckling it, and you'll start to think that your life is pretty miserable. Your life is pretty down and dour compared to what it used to be. If you can hear my family downstairs, I apologize. I've got nowhere else to do the podcast at the moment. Now, the other group of people are like my wife, all right? These are the people who say to themselves, I'm never going to drink alcohol again. But how am I going to make that happen? I've been drinking this stuff for 40 years. It's really, really difficult to quit. Hardly anybody ever does it. I don't know anybody who's done it personally. What makes me so special? I need a fucking game plan. And these are the people who don't just listen to the Alcohol Addiction podcast. They listen to 10 podcasts. They read all the books. They don't just read the books. They take notes while they're reading the books, and they take action on those notes. They have a full list of quotes, and they record mantras on the phones. So whenever they're triggered, they play the mantra, which tells them why it would be a very bad idea to have a drink. They ask people for help. Not just anyone, but people they know have got long-term sobriety under their belt, right? And they say, how did you do it? Teach me. They take courses like Radical Honesty. They join the Strive Academy. They join the Truth About Alcohol Life-Changing Experience. Money doesn't matter to them because at the end of the day, it's their health and their life, and they understand the challenge that they're facing, right? They understand and learn things like cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. Every single time they're triggered, they come to Strive and they share with people, and they use CBT methods to uncover the illusions behind, or the cons behind the way they're thinking about drinking, all right? In short, what they're doing is the same as Liza with a cold. They're searching for and taking action on lots of different ways that could mitigate the likelihood that my cold is going to get worse, and to increase the likelihood that I'm going to get better. And these people who are in this camp, when it comes to drinking, they're mitigating the likelihood that they're going to have a relapse and drink again. And they're increasing their likelihood that they are going to learn and understand that alcohol has no desire for them, in order for them to be someone who doesn't drink alcohol without craving, all right? And I just thought that that was really super important. It's not all about the work, all right? It's not all about the work, okay? But doing the work is fundamental to you becoming a success when it comes to being someone who doesn't drink alcohol. Absolutely fundamental, okay? And when you find yourself not wanting to do the work, then you're either suffering from process resistance or you're suffering from outcome resistance. You can learn all about those if you do the Truth About Alcohol Life-Changing Experience, okay? So there you are, the Netty pod. I hope that was helpful to you. Main thing that is really important is you now have a choice about which camp you want to be in. Do you want to be in a camp that just white knuckles it and just tries their best on their own, hoping that they're not going to drink again? Some people manage it fine, most don't. Or you're going to be in the group that does the work and start asking people like myself for help, right? You have a choice. Okay, one more last thing before I go. In addition to all those changes that you're making in your life, in terms of like tangible changes that you're making in your life, in order for you to increase the likelihood that you're going to be someone who doesn't drink alcohol, is how we think. Normally, the people in the group who are not doing anything and just relying on willpower, normally that group are not looking forward to being someone who doesn't drink alcohol because they think life's going to be pretty shit. They say things like, I wonder who the new Michael is going to be like. The people in the group that are really fucking going for it, they can't wait to live an alcohol-free life. And they're saying, I know exactly who Michael is going to be or who Michael is, and I can't wait to meet him or become him again. It doesn't take any more effort to create a future thought process of a positive person who has a wonderful life because they don't drink alcohol, compared to a negative future of someone who has a miserable life because they don't drink alcohol. It takes no more effort to create the negative future or the positive future. So please do yourself a favor, drop that pride, okay, and start thinking to yourself that alcohol-free life is going to be absolutely amazing, because it is. And I know you can't feel it yet, but your brain doesn't understand the difference between you physically feeling it and you thinking that you're feeling it, because it's your thoughts that create your feelings, right? So that's another thing that I wanted to mention. So we are going to run another Truth About Alcohol life-changing experience this month. If you want to get involved in that and become someone who doesn't drink alcohol, we have a really good success rate. 44% of people finish the experience, 41% no longer drink anymore. We have a global success rate of people finishing courses at 6%. So we're really high. If you want to get involved in that, send me an email to thetruthaboutalcohol@gmail.com, or if you want to just hit me directly at leedavypoker@gmail.com. Thank you for listening as always, and good luck out there, folks.